benches and bike racks and other elements that make the community more livable associated with the libraries. I like to think of Little Free Libraries as sort of entry-level placemaking. You start with the library, you come for the books, and then suddenly you have a community garden, a herb garden, a street boulevard, mural, and a community. So here's a couple examples. Our project started off as a mapping effort to understand how many little libraries we have here in Victoria. I would cycle down to work in Oak Bay, and I started meandering my route to the point where I could visit 6 or 7 on the way to school. And I started mapping them out. And we very quickly identified a couple great examples from around town, but over 150 Little Free Libraries here in Victoria. So after the first year of mapping, we had 110. We set the goal of having 150 for the 150th here in Victoria and Saanich. And we successfully installed the 150th in December, since we could blah about that. And the other elements of the project include me cycling around with a bike trailer dropping off books. And I was very happy that in early January we delivered our 1,000th book. So we kept Little Free Libraries topped up with interesting reads throughout the duration of the year, as well as bookmarks. Other elements of the project include helping people install their own. So just today I've found a cupboard which will soon be transformed into a Little Free Library. This is the project. We run workshops to help people learn how to build their own, how to install little libraries and pocket places and other placemaking elements. This is one that we hosted in November. And we help people build them. So these are 13 old Times Colonist newspaper boxes, which we sourced from our friends at Times Colonist. And they've been transformed into Little Free Libraries. Robust, they hold a lot of books, and they're popping up all around town. As far as the project itself, we've visited 177 libraries since August, dropped off 1,134 books, and have dedicated over 169 hours of volunteer service to the project itself. So that's sort of a summary of what the projects look like. Here's some examples of little libraries built by some of the Greater Victoria placemaking volunteers. That was a bunch of that were made by grade 8 students in Oak Bay, and they were distributed around town. And as you can see, they transform in a very nice way. And here's just an example of how a Little Free Library can transform part of the community. So here you see there's a library, there's a bench, there's a community garden. And the folks who built this one down in James Bay are putting in a street mural, they have a boulevard garden, there are little bee and wasp hives. And so you suddenly have a space that was otherwise a parking lot being turned into a garden where people can actually gather. Here's another example down in James Bay. This is brand new, so I was very excited. This is Niagara Grocery. And you have a bulletin board, you have a reading nook. There are marbles in the little library for kids to play with. There was a pumpkin, as you can see. And when I was there was about 7 people sitting around reading on the benches. And my favorite recent Little Free Library story was just yesterday afternoon I visited ours in Rutledge Park. And there was a couple with a baby buggy taking a picture. So I said hi and said, oh, our Little Free Library is on Twitter, Rutledge Park LSL, James plug. And could they post the picture? And they said, oh, they were very excited. It was the first time they took their 6-day-old child out. And they took it to a Little Free Library. And we had a conversation. I have a new friend in my neighborhood. So they're fantastic. They act as coral reefs for community. They promote literacy. They add whimsy to the neighborhood. There's a lot of talk about Twitter being a hostile place these days with American politics, but Little Free Libraries talk, and they talk to each other on Twitter. They're lovely, they're friendly, and whimsical. And they're part of the sharing economy. Right? It's the idea that you don't actually need to own a book. Like our public library system, you just take a book and you read a book whenever you want it. So it's part of that kind of element of sharing, which is part of what communities are founded upon. So where's our project going? We are doing walking tours in March, so we'll be taking people in the community to Little Free Libraries and touring them around and giving them a chance to talk to people who have built them themselves to share their experience of placemaking. I'm going to be dropping off more books, so we are planning on picking up about 4,000 or 5,000 from the Times Colonist book sale and spreading them out throughout the year. And we're going to be adding more elements. So as my colleagues in the Greater Victoria Placemaking Network mention to me all the time, placemaking isn't just about Little Free Libraries. There's other elements, there's benches, there's other community projects like bulletin boards. And so what we're looking for is people in the community who currently have a little library who want to add something to it, a garden, a bench, so she get in touch. And on top of that, I'll be producing some instructional videos, some blogs, and crucially, we want people to build more, to visit little libraries, to talk them off books, and to look for a book to make their life, add a little bit of whimsy to their lives. And, as a final point, because I've had a chance to talk to all the different major municipalities in CRT, this is a wonderful Little Free Library just outside of the council and the city hall in our neighbors in Victoria. Now, Victoria has 60 Little Free Libraries. I counted 52 in Saanich, so we're getting close. As the mayor mentioned in his address, we are the largest municipality, so we should be able to accommodate more level 3 libraries. There isn't quite a saturation point for them. And I do notice a lack of a level 3 library here in front of our beautiful municipal hall. So that might be something to consider in the future with promoting literacy and competing with our neighbors. Theirs is, after all, quite robust. So with that, I will take any questions you folks might have, and I want to encourage you to support placemaking here in Saanich. Thank you.
Great, thank you for your presentation. I want to ask you, have you thought about connecting with Community Living BC to work with that group to construct these little libraries?
At the moment, we've mostly encouraged people to build themselves, which can be a little bit difficult because we live in a small apartment. My partner works actually with the Greater Victoria the Tool Library here, which we helped start because we didn't have tools to build a library. That might be a good idea, actually.
They're an amazing group of people, young and old, and I think this would be really, I think they would embrace this, but I'm definitely trying to connect with that organization.
What's interesting is we actually have a waiting list of people who want little libraries but can't build them. And that's what we were doing with the Times Collins boxes. So it'd be helpful if people want to build them. If someone builds a little free library, I can find a home for it.
All right. Questions from council for Representative? All right. See you. Thank you for your presentation and for informing us. Oh, one from Councilor Riddle. Sorry. Go ahead, Councilor Riddle.
Sorry, I'm still following that, Mayor. I just want to make a comment. I do appreciate your enthusiasm and for the vision that you do have, and good on you. Thank you.
And thank you guys very much for your support for the libraries. We couldn't have installed ours in Rutledge Park without the support of Saanich Parks, and they take good care of it as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you again. All right, let's move on with the agenda, and we're going to have the adoption of the minutes. Madam Clerk, can I get your names that item first, please?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Item D, 1 through 5, adoption of the minutes. Item 1 is a special council meeting held December 11th, 2017. Special council meeting held January 15th, 2018. Council meeting held January 22nd, 2018. Special council meeting held January 29th, 2018. And committee of the whole meeting held January 29th, 2018.
So moved.
Thank you. Someone please second that as a block. Seconded by Councilor Brownhoff, moved by Councilor Workman. I'm going to call the question on adoption. If there are no changes, all in favor? Opposed? None are opposed. That carries unanimously. Thank you. All right. Before we move to bylaws for final reading, I do have 3 notices of motion in front of me. 1 from Councilor Harper and 2 from Councilor Haynes. I'm going to go to Councilor Harper first to introduce your motion and put it on the record so that we can deal with it at a following meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Whereas the adoption of the municipal budget is the single most important activity of council, enabling all municipal endeavors, therefore staff be directed to ensure that all budget materials to be considered by council at the upcoming financial planning meetings be available for consideration by both council and the public no later than the date of the agenda release for these meetings.
All right. Thank you. Madam Clerk, when will that appear on the council agenda? Will it be the next council meeting after the next committee of the whole?
To you, Mr. Mayor, through to council, we actually have your council schedule set up for the year for the financial plan meetings. The first financial plan meeting is scheduled for February 27th. We are hoping to provide the council agenda for on February 21st.
All right, thank you. Councilor Haynes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have 2 notices of motions. The first deals with election contributions. I'll read it into the record. The Council endorsed the following resolution for consideration as a late resolution at the 2018 annual meeting of the Association of Vancouver Island and Coastal Communities, AVICC. Whereas the provincial government recently banned donations from corporations and unions in elections at the federal, provincial and municipal levels, and individuals who donate to candidates at the federal and provincial levels can receive tax credits, but such tax credits are not available for donations to candidates in municipal elections, and whereas these changes were introduced to bring a more equitable financing landscape to elections in the province, yet in doing so yield a clear disadvantage to candidates in municipal elections. Therefore, be it resolved that Council requests the provincial government review the language in all appropriate legislation to enable individuals' personal donations to candidates in municipal elections to receive tax credits. That this be enacted in time for the 2018 election, and that pending the support of AVICC, this resolution be forwarded to UBCM, the Union of British Columbia Municipalities. Further, in advance of the AVICC, letters to the same effect be sent to the Premier of BC and the Minister of Finance. The second notice of motion requires public notifications. The Council endorse the following resolution from Central Sandwich Council for consideration at the 2018 annual meeting of the Association of Vancouver Island and Coastal Communities, AVICC. Whereas the primary purpose of provincial legislation requiring public notifications should be to help municipalities effectively notify residents based on what the metrics demonstrate and based on getting the best value for limited money. And whereas printed newspapers are no longer the only